I think what we'll be doing is on a quarterly basis, kind of giving you some analysis of how the expo and the golf course both are doing. Obviously, you get these reports on a monthly basis, but this report is a little bit different layout, which it kind of shows you year-to-date this fiscal year compared to year-to-date last fiscal year, so that you can see. To dovetail on Frank's comments, and thank you, Frank, now I know how to get a better rate at a hotel room. Wasn't really quite sure. We can see that your total revenue from sales last year was 100, at this point in time, through December of during our fiscal year 2014, which was December 31st of 2013, the total revenue from sales at the expo was $106,489.44, compared to where we are today, which is $170,043.49. I know Frank gave you a number. I was listening. It was about a couple $1,000s difference. That's probably a timing difference. The cash has not been sent to the treasurer's office and reported into the financial system as of 12/31. It probably came in a couple of days after that, so that it was a couple $1,000 difference. The important thing to realize there is just on those raw numbers from sales, he's up $63,994.05 in 1 year. But it's even more than that, because if you'll look at the first two line items, last year we still had some amphitheater revenue. $22,387.83 in rent and $2706.70 in concession revenue, which isn't there this year. So with that those two lines amounted to $25,094.53. Taking that out means that the expo really is up $89,088. So really, really some good news there at the expo. Another notable fact, if you'll look down into non-operating revenue, the transfer from the general fund, which is what the county has to subsidize this operation. At this point in time last year, we had already subsidized it by $217,000, and this year, because of the increased revenue, we've only had to subsidize it by $58,000. So a dramatic change there, which is the direction that we certainly want to go. Obviously, Commissioner Curtis talked about it, the reduced budget. You can see down in the line item in the general expenses. Obviously, the most notable savings are going to be in your labor and associated costs of labor, because we did downsize the crew there. So you can see those differences line by line. The other notable difference in the year-to-date is by last year, on page 2, about the second to bottom line item, we had already incurred some fixed asset acquisitions of $39,000 by this time last year, which we have not done this year. So, you know, all things being equal, you know, the consensus is that the amphitheater is definitely on the right. I mean, the expo is definitely on the right direction. And thank Frank for his hard work, and look forward to next quarter being this or better. So this is really exciting and to see, and I think the taxpayers of the county will be really pleased with what's going on there.
Thank you, Brian. Any questions for Brian? And I know we get these reports every month, so probably quarterly or so. I'll just bring it before the courts and talk about it publicly. So we'll be proactive.
I think quarterly would be great.
Yeah, they're a good idea. Just in case something starts to change, we can detect it before it gets far out of range.
Indeed.
All right?
And we'll move on into the golf course with the same kind of analysis, the same report format, so that you can see. There's that and that. Now, you do get numerous emails from me, and definitely a monthly summary talking about the rounds of play and things like that at the golf course. But from a financial standpoint, again, focusing on those two last columns, you can see that our revenue from sales has actually decreased, which is consistent with what I've communicated to you and you've seen on those monthly summaries. This time last year, we had revenues of $416,471. compared to this year, $410,129. You know, as you know, weather continues to be a challenge, and we face that obviously beginning the mid-November through December and into January. In fact, our guys are out there removing tarps because we've been effectively closed for 4 or 5 days now. Other notable line items, the amount of subsidy from the general fund. At this point in time last year, we had put over $90,000 into the golf course operation. This year, it's only $74,225.80, so we do have a decrease there. The notable thing, and I've actually got a meeting with Jeff and Duff on Wednesday at 10:30. You'll notice that our operating expenses are broken up into 3 sections. Code 441 is actually the maintenance and operations of the course itself. 442 is the pro shop, food service, guest relations, that kind of thing. And then 444 is the maintenance of equipment and things of that nature. So that we can break it up and look for trends and how we're doing out there. One of the things that's concerned me, and the reason for the meeting that I'm going to have with the guys, is from this point in time this year versus this point in time last year, actually in Jeff's department, the operation of the course, our employee costs on just 2 line items are up close to $20,000 from where they were at this time last year. So we've got some labor issues that we're going to have to deal with, get a hold of, and before this gets out of control. Like the judge says, getting this on a quarterly basis and then giving us time to react, because at this point in time, if we just simply allocate it out, this is an $80,000 problem, not a $20,000 problem. So we need to get in front of it. We need to find out what's going on and see what we can do to correct it with scheduling and managing manpower a whole lot easier. Pro Shop is right in line. Their changes from this year to last year, just in numbers, they're up $104,000 in expenses. However, that is because we had to make that golf cart payment earlier this year than we did last year. So if you notice in the equipment furniture line, 570 for code 442, that's a $95,000 number right there, and that made the one annual payment for the golf cart. So even though pro shop expenses are up 104, $95,281 is attributable to that. So really, they're not that far off target there. And the maintenance area out there for the mechanic, it's in line with last year. So we really have just some work to do on the golf course and the course operations side of it with Jeff. And like I said, I'll be meeting with them on Wednesday at 10:30 to discuss this.
Any other questions?
Do you feel like that this is overtime issue type of thing? That maybe
You know,
increase this?
We're gonna do some further analysis. If you remember, the court authorized some increase in salaries out there because we had cut so deeply. However, you know, I'm sure that's one portion of it. But we're gonna dig through the numbers and get down to the bottom of it. You know, as I've shared with the court before, you know, enterprise funds really are just code words for governments running businesses, and we have to react like a business. And this is a concerning trend for us, and we need to be on top of it. We will.
Brian, on the $95,000 for the golf cart expenditure, going into this, we realized that the payback is long-term rather than short-term. And we're anticipating several years of no payment going forward on this. So I just wanted to point that out.
Absolutely. And if you remember too, the price to lease was going up to $107,000. So even doing the payment,
Right.
we're saving money, and we're buying an asset that we'll be able to trade in at some future point in time. We're in a lease situation, we had nothing to trade in.
Right.
Questions? Thank you very much, Brian.
You bet.
Appreciate it.